Hello guys, welcome to the Brothers, and today we are here with the topic of life processes of biology class 10th. And in this is a revision video and we will cover the whole topic in this video. So now let us start. Criteria to decide whether something is alive. The first thing when life comes is if it is alive or not. So the most important criteria to decide whether something is alive or not is the molecular movements. We can see that things are alive or not just by seeing it, and by just visible movements like the body parts as we move our hand to shake hand or wave hands to to tell something that we are here. These are visible movements, but some movements are not visible. For example, molecular movements, as we can see it here in the diagram, in this image. Here are the movements are visible movements. This is also visible, this is also visible, and this is also visible. We can't see it, but these movements are molecular movements which are very short. These molecules are very tiny and we cannot see them move. For example, the blood flow. We cannot see the blood flowing, but we know that the blood is flowing because we can feel it. Thus, molecular movements are necessary for life processes. This human body is made up of cells, and this body may get damaged due to environmental forces. So we need to maintain our body, and to maintain our body we require life processes. So now what are life processes? Life processes are the basic processes in the living organisms which are necessary for maintaining their life. The basic life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. Nutrition. Nutrition is the process of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body for life processes. Respiration. Respiration is the process by which food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. Transportation is the process by which food gets oxygen, water, waste products are carried from one part of the body to another. For example, the food is broken down and food is broken down in the stomach, absorbed in the small intestine, but still we have the energy to move our hand because the energy is transported from the small intestine to the hand. Excretion is the process by which waste products are removed from the body. For example, we need energy for each and every life process. We get the energy from nutrition. We get the food from nutrition. We break it down with the help of respiration. We transport it with the help of transportation. And the waste material is to be removed by the body, and it is removed by the excretory system. So here we can see that it is the human digestive system which consists of tongue, tooth, basically the buccal cavity, then comes the esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, liver, small intestine, large intestine, anus, etc. If we move to the respiratory system consists of the nasal cavity, then comes the pharynx, then larynx, then we have the trachea, then we have the bronchioles, bronchus, then we have the bronchioles, which ends up in alveoli. If we talk of the transportation system, then we have the lungs, the heart and the human cells. The heart has 4 chambers, as we all know, and we will discuss when we will discuss transportation. And here comes the kidney. The kidney consists the excretory system, not the kidney. The excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, ureter, urinary bladder and urethra. Nutrition. Nutrition is the process of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body to build the body for growth, to repair the damaged parts of the body, and for energy. Life on Earth depends on carbon based molecules, and most of the foods are also carbon based molecules. For example, we talk about carbohydrates, fats. Carbohydrates are, the name suggests, carbohydrates. So, carbo consists of, means carbons. And starch. We talk about starch and glucose. They both are a form of carbohydrates. Their complex structure is carbohydrates, which is carbon based molecule. The outside raw materials used by living organisms are food, water, and air. We all know that we drink water to regulate our body temperature. We eat food so that we have some energy in us, and we inhale and exhale the air so that for respiration basically. Now let us discuss the modes of nutrition. There are two modes of nutrition: autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is the nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. We all know the definition of autotrophic nutrition because we continuously study it from the 7th till the 10th chapter in this present class. Okay. Now heterotrophic nutrition. It is the mode of nutrition in which organisms get their food or they obtain their food directly or indirectly from plants. For example, a tiger, lion, they get their food from deer, which gets its food from plants. So indirectly they are getting, and then deer itself eats plants. As you all know that it is a herbivorous, so it gets its food directly from plants. Types of heterotrophic nutrition. There are three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. They are saprotrophic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, and holozoic nutrition. Saprotrophic nutrition. Saprotrophic nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which an organism obtains its food from dead and decaying organisms. They break the food outside the body and then ingest it. They just digest it. Example, we have mushroom, bread mold, yeast, and some bacteria. Parasitic mode of nutrition. Parasitic mode of nutrition is the mode of nutrition in which organisms get their food from living organisms without killing them. The organisms from which it obtains food is the host, is called the host. For example, cuscata, orchids, tricks, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm, and plasmodium, etc. Holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is a nutrition in which organism takes food directly in and then digests it and absorbs it. For example, we have amoeba in human beings. We can see the saprotrophic mode of nutrition is here, mushrooms. Parasitic mode of nutrition is here, cuscata, and here is the mode of nutrition by paramecium. So we have it all. Nutrition in plants. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants prepare their own food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. The food prepared is carbohydrate, which is stored in the form of starch. Oxygen is released in this process. We have already talked about this process in the previous slides, so I didn't think so to describe it. Now let us discuss the equation of photosynthesis, which is very important from the examination point of view. 6CO2 plus 12H2O in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll will give us C6H12O6 plus 6H2O plus 6O2. Now here CO2 refers to carbon dioxide, H2O to water, C6H12O6 is glucose, and H2O again water, and O2 is oxygen, as you all know. So now what is the process of photosynthesis? The process of photosynthesis completes in three main steps. that are absorption of light energy by chlorophyll, conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, and reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. Now here we can see that the plant is getting energy from the sun as light energy. The chlorophyll converts the light energy into chemical energy. The plants get carbon dioxide from the air itself. It gets water from the soil. So we have discussed already. We know that the raw materials required for photosynthesis are sunlight energy, carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll. The plant contains chlorophyll itself, so it has all the raw materials necessary for it. The plant has obtained all the raw materials necessary, so now it is required to show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Now let us take two potted plants of the same size and keep them in a dark room for 3 days so that all the starch is used up, that is de-starch it. Then keep the green plants on separate glass plates. Keep a watch glass containing some potassium hydroxide, that is KOH, near one plant to absorb carbon dioxide. KOH is a good carbon dioxide absorber. Cover both the plants with the bell jars and seal the bottom of the jars with Vaseline to make it airtight so that no air enters it and no oxygen enters it. Keep the plant in sunlight for 3 hours. Then take a leaf from each plant and test for starch. The leaf of the plant kept in the jar containing potassium hydroxide does not show the presence of starch. This shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. KOH is a good carbon dioxide absorber. Now let us discuss nutrition in animals. When we discuss nutrition in animals, first comes amoeba. So nutrition in amoeba. So what is amoeba? Amoeba is a unicellular organism or animal living in water. It takes in food by forming finger-like projections called pseudopodia or false feet and forms a food vacuole. Inside the food vacuole, the food is digested and absorbed. The undigested food is then sent out through the surface of the wall through diffusion. Here we have the chart given in the NCERT, and here is the one made by me. So this is the food particle. Pseudopodias are formed. This is the food vacuole formed. This is the process is the ingestion. I have written it wrong here. This is ingestion and this is addition. The waste material is thrown out through diffusion. The food is digested here and absorbed here only, and then the waste material is thrown out. This is the nucleus of the amoeba. So now let us discuss the nutrition in human beings. Nutrition in human beings takes place in the digestive system. It consists of the alimentary canal and glands which produce enzymes which breaks down the food into smaller molecules. Nutrition in human beings, we all are human beings, so nutrition in human beings is a vast topic in heterotrophic nutrition and is important for us. So the main organs for the digestive system are the alimentary canal that consists of mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and the anus. The main glands are salivary gland, gastric glands, liver, pancreas, and intestinal glands. There is a big difference between the human digestive system and the human alimentary canal. In the human digestive system, it includes all the glands along with the alimentary canal, but in the alimentary canal does not include the glands, so you must make a note on it. So this is the human digestive system. Here comes the salivary gland, here is the tongue, here is the mouth, here comes the salivary gland, then comes the epiglottis, esophagus, then comes the esophagus, then comes the liver, stomach, duodenum. The duodenum is the first is the entering, or is the starting of the small intestine. The colon is the middle part of the large intestine. Ileum is the last part of the small intestine. The small intestine then ends into the long intestine, whose starting point is the appendix. Then comes the caesium, then colon, then comes the rectum, and then at the end the anus. So now let us look what are the basic things happening in nutrition in human beings in the alimentary canal, and what is the role of the gastric juices secreted by glands. So in the mouth, the food is broken down into smaller particles by the teeth and mixed with saliva from the salivary glands by the tongue. Saliva contains salivary amylase, which converts starch into simple sugars. Then the food passes through the esophagus into the stomach. A good question come here. Which digestion of food will be affected if salivary amylase is lacking in the saliva? So the conversion of starch into simpler sugar will be lacking. In the stomach, the gastric glands produce gastric juices, which contains the enzyme pepsin, hydrochloric acid, and mucus. Pepsin breaks down proteins into hydrochloric acid and makes the medium acidic, which helps in the action of pepsin. It is generally pepsinogen, which converts into pepsin in acidic medium. So that is why hydrochloric acid is required. And hydrochloric acid also kills the germs present in the food. Mucus protects the wall of the stomach from the action of the acid. Then the food passes into the small intestine. In the upper part of the small intestine, called the duodenum, the food is mixed with bile from liver and pancreatic juices from pancreas. Bile breaks down fats into smaller globules. Pancreatic juice contains the enzyme trypsin and lipase. Trypsin breaks down proteins and lipase breaks down fats. That is, the digest proteins and fats. In the small intestine, the glands of the wall of the small intestine produces intestinal juices. The enzymes of the intestinal juices converts carbohydrates into glucose, fats into fatty acids and glycerol, and proteins into amino acids. The walls of the small intestine have several finger-like projections called the villi, which are having a rich network of blood vessels. It helps to increase the surface area for the absorption of digested food. The digested food is absorbed by the blood and transported to all cells in the body. Then the undigested food passes into the large intestine. In the large intestine, water is absorbed and the waste material is removed through the anus. So this was the end of the nutrition part. Now let us move on to the respiration part. Respiration is the process by which food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. It takes place in the mitochondria of the cells. The energy released during respiration is used to make ATP, adenosine triphosphate molecules, and ADP molecules. Adenosine diphosphate. Tri means 3, di means 2, and inorganic phosphate. ADP plus phosphate with some energy from respiration converts into ATP. Energy is stored in the cell in the form of ATP molecules. When the cell needs energy, ATP is broken down in the presence of water to form ADP and energy is released. ATP are also known as the energy currencies of the cell because they help us in doing various endothermic activities of the cell. Now let us discuss the types of respiration. There are two types of respirations: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is the type of respiration in which the food is broken down in the presence of oxygen. It produces more energy as compared to anaerobic respiration. The end products are carbon dioxide, water, and energy. It takes place in most organisms. In aerobic respiration, glucose is converted into pyruvate in the cytoplasm in the presence of oxygen, and then in the presence of oxygen, pyruvate is converted into carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the mitochondria. When glucose is converted into pyruvate in the presence of oxygen, this process is known as glycolysis, and some amount of energy is also released here. Anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. It produces less energy as compared to aerobic respiration. The end products are lactic acid or ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. It takes place in muscle cells and yeast. In anaerobic respiration, in muscle cells, glucose is converted into pyruvate, and then in the absence of oxygen lacks here. That means that there is a deficiency of oxygen. Pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Glucose in the presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, pyruvate in the absence of oxygen in muscle cells, lactic acid plus energy. In anaerobic respiration in yeast, glucose is converted into pyruvate, and in the absence of oxygen, pyruvate is converted into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. This process is called fermentation. Glucose, presence of oxygen in cytoplasm, pyruvate, absence of oxygen in yeast, ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. Here, in the muscle cell part, it is lack of oxygen, deficiency of oxygen, and our muscle cells are deficient with oxygen when we are doing a lot of heavy physical exercise, for example sprinting. Breakdown of glucose by various pathways. This is the pathway in which glucose breaks down. You can pause the video and see it if you want. Note it down. Respiration in humans. The main organs for the respiratory system are nostrils, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, lungs, and the diaphragm. So this is the respiratory apparatus. This is the nasal cavity. This is the oral cavity or the buccal cavity. This is the epiglottis, which blocks the wind pipe when we eat something, so that it makes sure that the food gets in the food pipe or the esophagus and not in the trachea, so that we do not get choked. Then comes the pharynx, larynx. Pharynx is an opening to larynx, and larynx is the voice box. We are able to speak because of this voice box. Then the larynx leads to trachea, which has rings of cartilage around it, so that it does not collapse when there is no air passage. Then comes the bronchi, which divides the trachea into two parts. Then comes the bronchioles, which gets divided from the bronchi into many subunits, which end up in alveoli. And alveoli is the balloon-like structure which is made up of epiglottis, which helps in the exchange of gases, which helps in basically increasing the surface area for exchange of gases. Air enters through the nostrils. The hairs and mucus traps the dust particles in it. Then it passes through the pharynx and larynx, trachea, bronchi, and enter the lungs. The trachea has rings of cartilages which prevents it from collapsing when there is no air in the trachea. The bronchi divides into smaller tubes called bronchioles, which ends in tiny air sacs called alveoli. The alveoli is supplied with blood vessels through which exchange of gases takes place. The alveoli helps to increase the surface area for the exchange of gases. Now let us see the mechanism of breathing. When we breathe in, the muscles of the diaphragm contracts, moves downwards, and the chest cavity expands, and the air enters into the lungs because the ribcage moves outwards and upwards. So the area of the lungs get increased, which results in the reduced air pressure inside the chest cavity, which allows air to come in, to rush in. And when we breathe out, the ribcage moves inwards and downwards, the diaphragm relaxes, so the chest cavity, the volume of the the area of the chest cavity decreases, which results in extra volume, which results in breathing out. We can see it here. This is the sheet of diaphragm. It is a activity. You can see it.